All right, so, Jim, I'll ask you an easy question.
Yep.
We've heard of this thing called a large language model.
Yep.
Why is language not knowledge?
Because the computers are still dumb as bricks. I mean, it gives the simulation of intelligence, but it isn't intelligent. It gives the simulation of empathy or understanding, but when it says the wrong thing, it has no idea. So it's not knowledge. It's, and in the field, we have all sorts of funny names. It's a stochastic parrot. It's spicy autocomplete. It's a spell checker on steroids. But that's what the AI people talk about large language models. And so, you know, if you want it to kind of help you figure out how to do a sonnet in the style of Motley Crue, it's pretty good. But if you wanted to advise a farmer on what to plant, oh my, don't do that.
Great. So, thank you.
Was that the optimistic answer you're hoping for?
Very well. It'll
delivered.
Yeah. So, do we need it? We in our community, where we're trying to do good.
Oh, well, if we go back to AI or machine learning, as I, was when I was in the field, that's what we used to call it. Do we need it? Absolutely. The nonprofit sector is trying to do more and more with not a lot of resources. Our people are overstressed. There's 10 times more demand for our help than we have time. And so there are, I am in this field because my venture capitalist vetoed a project to help disabled people with AI. And it really, really, really helps disabled people. It's amazing. So we have to find those good applications. We have to manage when it doesn't work. But the thing is, and I joke, I spend a lot of my time talking to nonprofit leaders about tech. And I jokingly call it my anti-consulting practice. Because 95% of the time, what they show up with is not a great idea. You don't need a blockchain. Don't build that app. And if it comes up to AI, 95% of the time, it's probably not going to work very well. But there is that 5%, and that's what so many of the really exciting nonprofits, the Skoll Award winners, we're going to be using AI because we're going to have teams to make sure the AI actually works.
Okay, so I've heard of this thing called ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I want to save the world with it.
Yeah.
What advice would you give me?
Well, again, let's use the spell checker on steroids example, right? Spell checkers have been using more and more AI year on year. First, I don't recognize this word, then your grammar's not right. That's AI, or at least it was until it started to work. We'll come back to that one. And so now it's able to generate, take that 500-word answer and fit it into the 300-word block that the donor makes you fill it into, right? But you can't just hand it off. Because it's going to get facts wrong, it's going to compress something into something that doesn't make sense. It's going to give the illusion of being better written than you'll write it. But if you read it carefully, so we use it as a source of ideas, as a source of concepts of how do I cut this in half. But we don't use it for fact checking because it doesn't know facts. At least not today.
So there was this buzzword a few years back, right? Yeah. Big data.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Oh, man. So we have a semi-monopoly of big companies that have big data, right? You go to Microsoft or Apple or Amazon or Netflix, and they have data from hundreds of millions of people. And you go in our sector, and we have hundreds of thousands of organizations that have smaller amounts of data. So almost no nonprofits have big data. And this is a giant barrier to training AI, right? You've got to have data for the AI. And right now, oh man, ChatGPT is trained on American middle-class content. That's not very good in Thailand, I hate to say, and anywhere else. So one of the things we have to do is try to get the more representative and diverse data from the world that represents the issues that we have to do, and then use it to train these models. And I think you'll know how to work this in. We're launching a new movement to try to do that here at Skoll called the Better Deal for Data, bd4d.org. How do we ethically collect the data that we're going to need to train the AI models that this sector desperately needs? And right now, we really don't have the data in a form or a place where we're going to use it.
So how do we know whether we have enough data to use stuff?
Rules of thumb, I hear, if you have 100,000 chat conversations in a given language, you can probably do a decent job these days, especially if you're trying to do something pretty basic and very constrained to a certain issue. So,
But how do I know that? Meaning that I am interested in using it for application.
So here's the thing: it's like 99.9% of nonprofits should not be doing their own AI project by themselves because 99.9% of nonprofits don't have tech people. Tech people, that's what they do, and you don't need a lot of tech people, but a quarter-time data scientist could tell you whether or not you have enough data. How do they do that? They run an experiment, and they test it. And the biggest issue about AI is it makes a lot of mistakes. Everyone thinks it's like this oracle that doesn't make mistakes. What if it makes the mistake that ends your organization? Don't let it do that. You have to manage those mistakes. And how do you do that? You run experiments and see, okay, what could go wrong? Oh, that went wrong. Can I manage that? And you're going to hear from some great people here who have figured out how to manage that. I'm looking at you, Rick, and So anyway, hopefully that was helpful.
It was. So let me give you a few examples of where I've been excited about potential applications. And so just let's unpack that and see, A, whether I'm smoking something or whether this is real, or and if it is, sort of why, right?
Okay.
So one of the things I've been most excited about is sort of automated image-based diagnostics. So for example, if in a low-income setting, let's say you have access to an ultrasound, but not people who can read it, can you analyze the ultrasound images and sort of diagnose things like whether it's likely to be a low birth weight baby, the prediction of gestational age, and so on and so forth.
Great application. It started where I started my career. The challenge is, what if it gives you the wrong answer, right? And so, genetic testing is a great example. You need someone to interpret the genetic testing to decide what you're going to do about it. But one of the big issues we're going to have, and it's going to be a really big issue, is what if the current standard is you get nothing? And AI is going to help you get something that's pretty good. And you figured out what happens when the AI makes a mistake and you kind of manage that down. Then it's probably ethical to use it. But that's what we have to think about the people who we're inflicting this technology on, and is it really making their lives overall better, and can we help them when it gives them the wrong answer? And sometimes a wrong answer in medical areas could be it doesn't diagnose your cancer, and you come back in and it's your stage 4 and you're hopeless.